So I think that, I'm not preaching to us. I'm preaching for us, because we all know this. Everybody in this congregation right now, I guess, there aren't that many of us. There's several of us though, but we have access to several other people who have access to several other people who have access to several other people. And it becomes a multitude of people that all get the same teaching as long as we're on the same page. Because that means when we go out of this service today and for the rest of the week, we're going to be spreading the same message to everybody that comes in contact with us. And if we're clear about the message that we're sending, then they will be clear about the message they received, and they can be as clear as possible about repeating that message. That's called that regurgitation. You hear something that sounds exciting, or it sounds true, or it sounds interesting. We want to repeat it. We want to tell it again. We're all storytellers. We want to repeat the story. And sometimes the details get distorted. That's why we have an actual Bible that's a book that's got this stuff written down, because it used to be everything was passed through word of mouth. And we couldn't remember all that stuff. And sometimes the story got stretched. It's like that fish story. The fish was this big, you know what I mean? And times were so hard, everywhere we went was uphill, both ways, back and forth. I mean, the story gets stretched, but we have a book with accurate recollection of events and people and things that took place, and how God worked in these people's lives. That's the most important thing about this book, is you can really read about how God worked in these people's lives. And when great things happened and these spectacular events took place, these people didn't write God off. They knew who took care of this. They knew who was responsible for this, and they wrote it down in the book. Now modern man has a better explanation for everything. Oh, that was ancient folklore. Those were superstitious people. I mean, times were so hard, they had to have hope. They had to build hope for themselves. So they made up, there being a God. They made up there being a heaven. They made up there being an afterlife. They're made up us having souls and not just rotting in the ground when we die. They made all that up so they could have hope. I don't think so. I don't think so. And if you look into it deep enough, you won't think so either. But that's the whole thing, is we want to inspire people to look. We want to inspire people to learn. We don't want everybody to just take our word for it. We don't want to take each other's word for it. I mean, we're kids, we take the elder's word for it because, we know that the elder is wise, and we know they care about us, and we know they're trying to teach us the right thing. So we take their word for it. But when we get old enough, now that we're in this technology age, we got phones, they're handheld computers. We can look on there and find out whatever information we want. Matter of fact, there's artificial intelligence on the phone that you can ask a question to, and it will answer you. It gives you an accurate answer and tell you where to look to find the answer. How great is that? I mean, how technologically advanced is that? Can you imagine the children of Israel with a smartphone? You know what I mean? How different that would have been if they had smartphones back then. We got smartphones now. We got phones that will tell us what we want to know if we seek the knowledge, if we seek the information. And that's what we want people to do. We already know what's going on. And like I said, we don't want people to just take our word for it. We want people to research this for themselves. We want people to have access to the knowledge themselves. Once you read something for yourself, it's embedded in your mind. It becomes part of your memory, and all you have to do is be able to retrieve that information whenever it's necessary. And so once you have that information embedded in your mind, if you truly believe what you know, that's all of it right there. If you truly believe what you know. And you can try to sell people. I was a salesman before. And so when you try to sell people, you're talking them into something that they don't understand, but you're talking them into believing that you know what you're talking about. So that means whatever you're telling them, you want them to believe that too. But that's not really how it works. Sometimes you can talk people into something, but sometimes you can't. But if you show people things and you show them examples of these things, and they have something tangible that they can touch, and something visual that they can see, they don't have to just listen. They can see it and they can touch it and they can feel it. And that's how they believe it. They can see your works. They can see that you're doing the right thing. They can see that God is blessing you. That they can see the humbleness in your spirit. They can feel it. You know, they can grasp that. You know what I mean? They can understand that. So I